Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So literally just a day or two ago, I uploaded a video on my thoughts of Volume 2 of Stranger Things, and I pretty briefly covered Will's coming out scene, but I want to do a more in-depth video on not just that, but also Byler as a whole. So this is that video. I might make another one if I think of more to say, but I guess here we go.
I don't want you to see me differently, but the truth is, I am different.
And I'm gonna start off with Will's coming out once again. Now, in my last video, I said I loved it, it was really emotional and everything. And I just want to elaborate on that a little bit more. I did think it was very, very raw and very beautiful, and I think Noah Schnapp did a great job acting in that scene. Like, it was so emotional. And I've been seeing a lot of people like, why did he have to come out to everyone? And the reason behind that, I think, is that Will said like a couple of times that Vecna showed him a future where he like grew apart from people, and eventually he ended up being alone after he came out to them because nobody accepted him.
But then today Vecna showed me what would happen if I did this, if I told you guys the truth. He showed me a future, and in this future, some of you are just worried for me. Worried that things will be harder for me, and it just makes me feel like something's wrong with me. So I push you away, and for the rest of us, we just drift apart more and more and more and more and more until I'm alone. And I know none of that has happened, and in fact, I can't see into the future, but he can see into our minds, and he knows things, and it just felt so real. It felt so real.
And Vecna like can get into people's minds, and he knows their deepest fears. And Will's deepest fear is that once people know the real him, then they're not gonna love or accept him, and he'll end up being alone. And after Vecna showed him that future, of course he's gonna like, if he went into the battle with Vecna with that on his mind, with thinking, like with having that doubt that people would still love him even if they knew the real him, he would not be able to fight to his fullest potential. And Vecna would also be able to use that against him during the fight. Which is why he had to come out to everybody and not just Mike and Joyce. And also, the reason everyone was there, including Callie and Murray and stuff, is because, like, just think about how weird it would be if Mike and Will are going around, like, rounding everybody up, like, hey, we need to, like, Will needs to tell you guys something really important, and then there's, like, 3 or 4 people that aren't included. Like, they're gonna get suspicious. They're gonna be like, what's going on? And then there wouldn't be trust in the group. Like, I feel like, I mean, I can kind of get behind why they shouldn't be there, but at the same time, in the story, it just would be weird for them. Like, if you're thinking in the characters' minds, it would have been weird for them not to be there. But anyways, that's also the reason it was kind of bad. Like, it wasn't an empowering coming out scene because Vecna was using it against him, so he was forced to come out. Which, in the real world, like, that's a pretty horrible thing, and that is not, that kind of coming out shouldn't be normalized. It should be, Will should definitely have come out on his own terms, but also thinking within the story, it seems like the only way they could have handled it in a timely manner, and while still being relevant to the plot. If that makes any sense. That definitely doesn't make the scene meaningless, it just makes it kind of flawed, but I mean, my opinion still stands. I thought it was still a really beautiful coming out scene despite all the flaws it had, and just taking everything into consideration, I still thought it was really great and just beautiful.
But then I realized he's just my Tammy, and by Tammy I mean it was never about him. It was about me.
Will refers to Mike as his Tammy, and if you don't remember, Tammy was Robin's first love, first crush. Hallway crush really helped. She helped her come to terms with her queerness. And Will compared Mike to Tammy, and I really don't think that's a fair comparison. I think, if anything, Mike is his Tammy and his Vicky. Mike really isn't comparable to Tammy because Tammy was not Robin's, like, childhood best friend. Mike has always been there for Will and has been his closest friend ever, and Tammy wasn't even friends with Robin, like, they didn't even talk. So Mike is just not comparable to Tammy, like, in any way. The only way that he is comparable, though, is that Mike was also Will's gay awakening. I mean, I guess that's not exactly canonical, but I'd like to say it's pretty heavily implied that Mike was his first crush, and so far his only crush.
And I had this crush on someone, even though I know they're not like me.
I don't think that Mike was just a crush. I think that Will was in love with him and is still very much in love with him. Like, crushing on someone for who knows how many years at this point, at some point it turns from crush to love. And because of those two things that I just talked about, I think it's pretty safe to say that Will is an unreliable narrator. Will thinks that Mike is his Tammy, and Will is trying to convince himself that it's just a crush. But we know that Mike isn't comparable to Tammy, and Mike is definitely not just a crush, so that makes Will definitely an unreliable narrator. So you can't say Byler isn't going to happen because Mike is Will's Tammy. We also haven't seen Mike's perspective at all, and I'm hoping that that's something they're going to explore in the last episode. And I think Mike's perspective will clear up a lot of things, and I'll get into what I think about Mike in a minute. And we also know for a fact that Mike knows he's Will's crush. If you couldn't figure it out from the scene, which I think, like, everyone knows that it's Mike. Like, it's really obvious that it's Mike because he was staring at Mike the entire time, especially when he was like, oh, I had this crush on someone. He is staring into Mike's soul. But if you wanted just a little more proof, the Duffer Brothers also confirmed that Mike does in fact know that he's Will's crush. And just another thing on this, the painting and van scene in season 4 is supposed to be addressed in season 5, and it hasn't been addressed yet, and I think that will probably lead to a conversation between Mike and Will.
Well, you're mad that I didn't talk to you? Seems like you made it super clear that you're not interested in anything I have to say. That's just not true. You've called maybe a couple times. It's been a year, Mike. Meanwhile, Elle has like a book of letters from you. That's because she's my girlfriend, Will. And us? We're friends. We're friends. Well, we used to be best friends.
And, back to Mike. I think that Mike is bisexual, if not gay, with internalized homophobia, which would explain his actions in season 4, because I think most of us can agree he was a pretty shitty person in season 4. Like, he was not a good boyfriend, he was not a good best friend, he just kind of wasn't that amazing of a person in general. I mean, we did see some growth from him by the end of the season, and definitely in season 5, but not a ton of growth. And unless Mike shows some pretty big character growth in the last episode, there wouldn't really be any other explanation for his actions in season 4 that I can think of. Because if you're assuming that Mike is in fact gay, let's just say Mike is gay, he's in love with Will. That would explain why he's not able to be a good boyfriend to Elle and a good best friend to Will at the same time. He's not able to be a good best friend to Will because he's currently dating Elle, and if he likes Will, it would just, like, be really awkward and he wouldn't know how to interact with Will. And it would also make things awkward with him and Elle because he doesn't love her. He loves Will, but he's in this relationship. And, you know, it's the 80s, so kind of coming out as gay is, like, a huge thing, and it's just, he would obviously have a lot of internalized homophobia from the way he was raised, and just that time period in general.
I don't know you. You think I'm a monster, too.
What? Yesterday, the way you looked at me, you were scared of me.
No, that's not true. I was surprised. Maybe I was a little upset in the moment, but I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I also don't think they love each other anymore. Even if Mike isn't gay, even if Byler isn't canon, I don't think Mike and Eleven love each other romantically. One of the biggest hints for this, for me, is Mike's face when Eleven kisses him in season 3, I think.
I love you too.
He doesn't kiss her back, he doesn't close her eyes, he just stands there, and when Eleven walks away, there's kind of this look of like disgust in his eyes. I don't really know, but it's just a lot of Mike's facial expressions show that he's not heartbroken, he's just like confused or disgusted. Like also when Eleven broke up with him in season 3.
I dump your ass.
He didn't look disappointed. He didn't look like he was sad about it at all. He looked like really confused. Or you guys will have seen the clip, but hopefully you get my point. That would also, both of these things would explain why Mike is unable to even write "I love you." If he doesn't really mean it, why would he write it?
Who said that I didn't?
You never say it.
I say it.
You can't even write it, Mike.
Okay, okay, 11, you're being ridiculous.
Mike and Eleven haven't really had any romantic moments in season 5, and I don't think Elle putting her hand on Mike's cheek really means anything. I mean, we've seen her be physically affectionate with characters before, like in season 2, she put her hand on Dustin's mouth, and that doesn't really mean anything. Like, they're not together in a romantic relationship, and they've never been shown to have feelings for each other. Mike and Eleven have also been referred to as friends in Volume 2 twice, where Mike is saying friends don't lie, and then also Callie saying something about your friend Mike. Eleven doesn't correct her or anything, which this also might be like grasping for straws, but I just find it weird that they have not been referred to as a couple since Lucas called them lovebirds in season 1. And even when they were having that conversation, it wasn't anything particularly romantic, because even though Elle was talking about them two as a couple, Mike was talking about the group as a whole, not just those two, because of the context before. So because of just all of this and everything in season 4, I honestly think they broke up between season 4 and 5, and it just hasn't outright been said, which I don't really have any proof for that, but that's just my theory, and I mean, I guess we'll just have to see.
Wait.
Hey.
Hi.
Do you, by any chance remember Tammy Thompson?
Yeah, isn't she that terrible singer?
Yeah, but in the 9th grade, I thought that she sounded like Whitney goddamn Houston.
Jumping back to season 5, if we believe for a second what Will was saying is true, and Mike really is just his Tammy, and he was just a crush he got over, why would they have him be asking Robin all this stuff about signs that someone likes you or signs of someone wanted to date you? Why would they have Robin be a mentor to him at all? Obviously to accept his queerness, but if they were doing that, they didn't need to add all those parts about Will being like, how do you know if someone wants to date you? I just think it's a little bit odd, and definitely like just so out of place if there wasn't going to be something happening between those two, if Will really just gave up on this crush.
Do you want to be friends?
I just need to just stop being so goddamn scared.
And now I want to move on to a little bit of Byler proof that I have. I think one of my biggest proofs is in season 2 when Mike and Will are talking, and Mike says, if we go crazy, we'll go crazy together, right?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy.
Me too.
Hey, well, if we're both going crazy, then we'll go crazy together, right?
Yeah. Crazy together.
And then in season 3, we have a conversation between Mike and 11, and Mike is like, blank makes you go crazy.
Yeah, they do say it makes you crazy.
What makes you crazy?
You never heard that term? You know, like the phrase, like, blank makes you crazy, like the word.
Girlfriends?
No, not girlfriends.
Boyfriends?
No, not boyfriends either. It's like a feeling, or yeah, like something, like old people say it to each other sometimes.
Old people?
Yeah. What I want to say is that I know.
So it has pretty much been established, love makes you go crazy, and then Will or Mike are saying we'll go crazy together. I just think, I don't know, I think it's pretty, I don't know. And then there's also been just a lot of couples saying we're friends. We've had Joyce and Hopper say it. We've had Robin and Vicky say it. We've had, I can't remember if it was Nancy and Steve or Nancy and John. We've had a lot of canon couples say that they are just friends. And then in season 4, Mike and Will reuniting. They're fighting in the skating rink or whatever. And I don't honestly even remember what they're going on about. But then Mike says something about, oh, well, she's my girlfriend. And Will says, then what about us? And then Mike says, we're friends.
It's been a year, Mike. Meanwhile, Elle has like a book of letters from you.
That's because she's my girlfriend, Will.
And us?
We're friends.
Well, we used to be best friends.
Like, okay, Mike, we know that you're friends. He wasn't asking if you guys were together. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Hopefully. But like, it just, the parallels between a lot of canon couples are like very obvious and just there. Another pretty big parallel, I think, is going back to when Mike couldn't write I love you, and him and 11 had that conversation. 11's like, you couldn't even write it. And then right after that, when Mike and Will are talking, they're saying like,
Thanks, by the way.
For what?
For knocking some sense into me. I mean, I was being a total self-pitying idiot.
I didn't say it.
You didn't have to.
just like completely the opposite of what was happening with him and 11. Another pretty big thing that like I think everyone knows about, but I felt like bringing up just because, is the blue and yellow coloring. Like Mike is shown like his color is blue and Will's color is yellow, and then when they're fighting their colors are swapped, which I just feel like I don't really think there's a color for Mike and 11, at least not that I've seen. So I just felt like pointing that out. And then so moving on from all the Byler proof and stuff, I want to talk about queerbaiting. The definition for queerbaiting is a marketing technique for fiction and entertainment in which creators hint at but do not depict same-sex, romantic, or other LGBTQ plus representation. So basically that pretty much means when a creator of a show is hinting at this queer romantic relationship and then it doesn't happen. Like, the relationship doesn't end up canon and the characters don't end up together, don't confess their feelings, yada yada yada. If Byler isn't canon, I think it's safe to say that it'll be queerbaiting. Mike is like very, very queer coded. I will definitely be making a video on Mike's queer coding, and I covered it a little bit in this one, but I'm not going to get into it too much. But I believe Mike is very queer coded, and if you look at so many of the details throughout all of the seasons, it's just very heavily implied that they're in love with each other. And again, I went over a few of them. I'll definitely be making a more in-depth video on a lot of the details. But we know that Will likes Mike. And it's just very implied that the relationship will end up together, and if it doesn't, it's just definitely just queerbaiting. Byler would probably be revolutionary. I mean, there's not really any good queer representation in mainstream media, and when there is, it gets canceled. I mean, think of the show I am not okay with this. And like, before you come at me with stuff like Heartstopper, it's like, it's different because in mainstream media with queer characters, it's either a side plot with side characters like Robin and Vicky. The queer character only gets the love and acceptance ending and they don't actually get to be with the person, or the show is about being queer, which means it'll only target an audience of queer people who actively seek out shows of being queer. Stranger Things is not a show about being just queer. It's a show about freaks and outcasts in the 80s. So being queer would absolutely fit in, but it's not a show specifically about being queer. And there's not many shows that have a main same-sex couple where the show isn't solely about being queer. I can't think of a single show like that. So Stranger Things would be the first. And the last thing I want to cover is why would they do it in the last episode? Because I've been seeing a lot of people doubt, like, we have one episode left, we have 2 or 3 hours, there's no way it's going to happen. And I would definitely beg to differ. I mean, Stranger Things targets a huge audience of people. Like, people, like, young, people old, like, just a wide range of people. That's, like, it's so successful. If they did it in episode 7 or even earlier, there would have been pretty bad lashback from hardcore My 11 shippers or Byler haters or any really homophobic group of people that watched the show, and that would probably result in them losing a fair portion of their viewers, lowering views, and ultimately meaning they lose money, and because those people wouldn't want to tune in for the final episode. If that makes sense. By waiting till the last episode, they would definitely lower the possibility of hate and boycotting before the show's even finished, which means they don't risk the chance of losing viewers and money until after the initial release and hype. And just a side note, I've heard that the Duffer Brothers' favorite ship is a queer ship that only ended up canon in the very last episode. I can't remember what the show is or what the ship name is, but I think that might give us a little bit of hope, but I don't think it's enough to go off of to say that Byler will be canon just based off that. And to end the video, I just want to say it's really just a ship and it's all fictional, and I would love for Byler to happen. Like, that would mean a lot to me personally, because I'm also someone who has struggled with my queer identity and finding somewhere to fit in and belong. So Stranger Things already means so much to me, as everyone there is someone who doesn't fit in and doesn't really belong anywhere. So my favorite character, Will, getting the person he wants to be with would just be amazing. But if it doesn't happen, at the end of the day, like I said, it's fictional. It's just a ship, and that, like, if it doesn't end up canon, how has canon ever stopped anybody from still shipping? Like, you go to any fandom, you go to the Harry Potter fandom, you go to the My Hero Academia fandom. I mean, the two biggest ships in those are Harry x Draco and Bakugo x Deku, and neither of those ships are canon, but that doesn't stop it from being the most popular ship in the show. So I think that means that even if Byler isn't canon, I don't think we should just completely give up hope. Like, it might not be canon, but that doesn't stop us from still shipping it. It doesn't stop us from still believing in the subtext that was 100% there. So I guess this was probably a longer video. I am very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about Stranger Things as a whole. And I really want to do more character analysis and more in-depth videos, especially on characters like Robin, Will, Mike, and Dustin. With season 5, there's just been so much more of those characters. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while, and yeah, just like, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more, and I hope you have a great day. And I am holding out hope that the final episode will not be heartbreaking, but I guess we'll have to see, and I'll see you guys later.